Glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahushai, Bahashum, Rachakodash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. In grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rokhaya from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. Excuse me. And I want to do a little bit of a land back on this video that was done by the elder Manatza Zakba a couple of days ago. And it's entitled, Modern Culture and Everything Around You is Because of White People. All right. And I want to play a couple of minutes of the elder's video because these devils, the pride of the so-called white man, has reached heights that are truly comical. You know, he truly believes that he's the only intelligent being in the universe. You know, he has the only living brain cell in the earth, and that his word should be regarded as law. But we're no longer living in that time period where the word of the so-called white man is the standard. And that's because, according to the prophecy in Daniel, the 12th chapter, knowledge has increased, all right, which we're going to get. And not just any knowledge, all right, the knowledge of the truth has increased, which is starting to dismantle everything that this devil has built his image and his kingdom upon. Because America and its kingdoms before it, Greece, Rome, all right, and now here in Babylon the Great, all of these kingdoms were forged on lies. The image of the so-called white man has been forged upon a lie. He's not a benevolent character. He's not a philanthropist, all right? He's not the father of civilization, okay? He's the father of lies, deceit, rape, robbery, and murder. And now all of his treachery is starting to be brought to the forefront. All of these different wicked counsels that they've been having for years, years behind the people's backs, are now being brought to the forefront because the spirit and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahushai is starting to be pushed in the earth. And now that the truth is starting to be pushed in the earth, now they're being exposed. They're being exposed to be the devil that the Bible speaks of, that man of sin, the son of perdition, spoken about in 2 Thessalonians. They're starting to be exposed to be the problem in the earth. And now a lot of these so-called white people, a lot of these Edomites are sitting at the edge of their seat. And the reason being is because they're caught. A lot of these Edomites are angry, you know, and pushing back because they're caught. And just like a cheating woman, the only reason why she pushes back is because she's caught. And the so-called white man has been caught in the act of lying, raping, robbing, and murdering. He's been caught right in the act, red-handed. And a lot of the pushback that we're starting to see is because they've been exposed, man. And now they're going to come forth with who they truly are. A lot of this, you know, diet Edomitism is going to stop. A lot of these Edomites are going to just come right out with it, with who they really are. You know, not some devil in a three-piece suit and some hard-bottom Stacey Adams. They're going to come out to be that caveman, that cave dweller, you know, that they truly are, that demon that they truly are, man. And we're starting to see that with a lot of these different internet videos that are being made on the so-called white man's plight, the straight white male's plight, you know, white man fight back and so on and so forth. You know, we're starting to see a lot of it. And eventually it's going to transition unto that time spoken about in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, you know, where there's going to be sedition among men. But, you know, we'll get into that later. We'll get this first in Daniel, the 12th chapter. In the 4th verse, it says, But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. All right, right now we're living in the great information age. All right, the Lord has created the unicorn, all right, which is the internet. Okay, this highway, this internet highway that is able to transfer and deliver information at the blink of an eye, you know, across the globe. You know, the Lord has created this avenue not only, you know, as a way to expose Esau, Edom, but also as a way to gather his elect, you know. And the internet, the unicorn is working as a double-edged sword. You know, it's exposing a lot of the wickedness that's taking place in this kingdom, is gathering the elect back into the knowledge of the truth, alongside connecting the sanctuaries that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. The unicorn is doing a lot, and it's forwarded, the increase of knowledge, the increase of the knowledge of the truth. It says, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. We're living in that day and age where knowledge has increased. The knowledge of the truth has increased. And now we're starting to see a big pushback from Esau Edom, because everything he's built himself upon has been a lie. Like the Elder Manasseh Akbar says, he lied about the lies that he lied about. And now everything is being brought to the forefront. He's caught. But I want to play just a couple of minutes. I'm only going to play a couple of minutes of the second clip. We're going to grab a couple of precepts. Lord, when it's edifying unto you elect. But the pride of the devil is at comical levels right now. And it's only going to continue to increase until he self-implodes. This pride is going to lead, this increase in pride is only going to lead to his own destruction. And we're starting to see how he's destroying even himself in his enterprise and his endeavor to become God in the earth. He's destroying even his own people. But let's get it.
Done apologizing for being white. I didn't own slaves. I didn't write Jim Crow. Done apologizing for being white. I didn't own slaves. I didn't write Jim Crow. I didn't redline shit. I was born in the 1980s to a middle-class family that had to work for everything.
Furthermore, these Edomites really expect us to believe in the numbers that they report concerning slavery. How many households had slaves working for them, and how many households didn't. They really expect us to believe the numbers that they forged for a lifetime. We know that the so-called white man forges numbers. He forges stats. He's not truthful when it comes to the fact of the matter. And a lot of these different houses, whether they outside of plantations, you had regular Edomite households that had servants, Jake's servants, that were not getting paid, that were watching their children, that were doing their chores, that were doing the housework, that did not get paid, and oftentimes had to stay outside of the house in some and you still see remnants of it here in Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina. You still see remnants of that very fact. So we no longer believe the report of the so-called white man. We are no longer staying upon them who smote us. We no longer believe their report. All right, we believe the report of the Lord, man. All right, what's contained in the scriptures, because the scriptures have laid out everything for us. They've laid out the mindset of the so-called white man. They've laid out the atrocities. All right, and it's also laid out the judgment for those atrocities, against the Lord's people. But
I work 50 plus hours a week, pay my taxes, and I'm still told I'm the villain. Every day it's check your. I work 50 plus hours a week, pay my taxes, and I'm still told I'm the villain. Every day it's check your white privilege, do a land acknowledgement, post the black square, feel guilty for something I had zero to do with. No fucking way. My great-grandparents came off a boat from Germany with nothing. I've got black people in my family tree, and nobody in my bloodline ever owned a slave. You want a fucking apology? Dig up the dead. You want money? Call Congress, or better yet, fucking work for it like everybody else has to. I'm not your emotional punching bag, and I'm sure as hell not your ATM, because my skin is lighter than yours. And let's be real, people who never pick cotton want to check from people who never owned a plantation. That's not justice, that's a shakedown.
We are our forefathers. All right, we come back every third and fourth generation in what's known as reincarnation. All right, where the spirit is put back into the flesh. Because once the cycle of life laid out in the scriptures is this: you die, all right, you live, your body goes back into the ground, all right, your spirit goes back into the heavens, all right, with the Heavenly Father. And then every third and fourth generation, that spirit is reincarnated into another body. All right, in that same family line. All right, it's not you, and in the same gender. You know, you're not gonna come back a woman if you're a man. You're not gonna come back a man if you're a woman. You're not gonna come back a butterfly or a cow. All right, you're gonna come back in that same family line every third and fourth generation. All right, and the life that you have will be determined, or your judgment in that lifetime will be determined by the life that you lived aforetime. All right, so we are our forefathers, and every atrocity and all the wickedness that your forefathers committed to usurp this land, to usurp the authority of the earth, and to afflict and to penalize the apple of the Lord's eye will be recompensed by you. Thus saith the Lord. This is Isaiah 14 and 21. It's like Isaiah 14:21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. All right, so slaughter is being prepared for your iniquity, for the iniquity of your fathers, which is you. The Lord says slaughter is being prepared. All right, and right now we're starting to see the preparation, all right, chiefly with these nations that are being stirred up against Babylon the Great. China, Russia, Iran, all right, North Korea, and its conglomerates. All of these different nations that are starting to posture themselves against Babylon are a testament to the slaughter that is being prepared for the iniquity of your fathers. Not let alone to mention what's going to take place in the kingdom of heaven when Yahweh Shai, the 144,000 and the nation of Israel is set on top. Not to mention that, we're just talking about right now, your immediate future. You're being prepared, man. And not to mention as well, a lot of you Edomites have reaped the benefits of your forefathers. Once again, the fact has been brought out how you had more than a 400-year start, concerning building generational wealth. You have more than a 400-year start. And with that 400-year start, you and your forefathers have blew it. But even now today, even some of those remnants, that prosperity that your forefathers were able to establish are being benefited off of from their descendants, which are you. So-called white privilege is something that takes place worldwide. Wherever you go throughout the world, the so-called white man is regarded as a god in a sense. He's chosen because of the power that his nation holds. But that privilege is coming to an end, man. You bet.
Liberal white apologists crying online for sins they didn't commit. You're not brave. You're a fucking embarrassment. Liberal white apologists crying online for sins they didn't commit. You're not brave. You're a fucking embarrassment. You apologize when you fuck up, not for history you weren't alive for. I'm sick of being told it's a crime to be a straight white man in this country. I go out of my way to treat people with respect until they give me a reason not to. I'm done bending the knee. I'm done whispering. I'm done disappearing into the background so you fucking feel comfortable. I'm picking my side. I'm not guilty. I'm not sorry. I never was. You can...
Because as soon as y'all make that move, the Lord is going to make his move. We don't have to make any moves. The Lord is going to make the move for us. I'm going to skip through this guy's video, though. Let's get to this devil.
I never was. You can fucking... Mexican migrant worker. I never was. You can fucking... I never was. You can fucking... Mexican migrant worker. I never was. You can fucking stay mad. If you're done apologizing too, drop a comment below. Black people did not build this country. Saying black people built this country is like saying Mexican migrant workers built SpaceX. Not to mention the Civil War destroyed nearly everything. After the Civil War, we started with a clean...
ancient Egypt, which they didn't. The Israelites were responsible for building ancient Egypt and its prized cities. And we read about that. The so-called white man has not put in an inch or an ounce of work. All he's done is steal That's all he's done is steal. He's stolen gods. He's stolen ideas. He's stolen formulas. He's stolen understandings, knowledge. He's stolen everything that he has. He's patented different ideas that were made by Israelites that are still forwarding society today. There's a whole list of them. I don't have them right now. I used to have them on my phone. But there's a whole list of inventions, that were created by Jakes to make their lives easier, such as the cotton gin, to make their lives easier, that were patented by the so-called white man and made to look like he invented it, that he was the proprietor of that invention to forge society. All this nigga has done is steal. And the knowledge is coming out on that, man. He's had no reason to come up with different inventions to forge society because he hasn't been oppressed. The ingenuity, the inventions have came from those who have been oppressed, seeking and trying to make their lives easier. You fucking devils are proud, man. These motherfuckers are proud beyond measure. And it's really comical at this point that they truly believe that we believe their word is law. That they think that we believe he's the only intelligent being on the earth. No, the Lord is raising up a remnant that is intelligent beyond the foolishness of this world. This is Jeremiah 49:16. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, that, O thou dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as an eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. Also Edom shall be a desolation, everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. And the terribleness of the so-called white man has deceived him. Just because the Lord has given him the ability, the blessing of the sword, he truly believes that he's it. He's the man in the earth, and that he can rewrite and recreate history and understanding as he knows it. His terribleness has deceived him into believing that he is God in the earth. And that's why, like in true idiotic fashion, he sold his trump card, which is the ICBM nuclear missiles. All right. He sold his trump card to the other nations, which are now prostrating against him with those same weapons, with that same trump card. The same devices that he has used, the same terrible devices that he's used to destroy the communities of Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are now starting to be turned against his own communities. Opioid crises, suicide crises, joblessness, homelessness, gun violence, jails, all of these different devices that were conceived, to keep Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians destroyed, are now starting to turn upon his own nation. And that's a prophecy in Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. Deuteronomy 30:7. All these curses shall come upon thine enemies, roughly paraphrasing, and that's exactly what is taking place. The curses have now swallowed up Esau, Edom, and it's starting to overwhelm them. It says, thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart. O thou dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence. Also Edom shall be a desolation, everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. This is exactly what's taking place, man. The pride of the so-called white man is bringing him, unto his own downfall. First it's making him a laughing stock in the planet Earth. And then after he's being done laughed at, after the laughing has ceased, then the destruction is going to commence. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? The pride of his heart has deceived him. It's deceived him. Now he truly believes in what he's saying. These devils really believe in what they're talking about. And there's really nothing you can do for a person who believes the lies that they're telling, who's convinced in the lies that a lie that they know they're lying about. There's nothing you can do for a person like that. You know, the only thing that's good for a person like that is a reset, a hard reset. And that's exactly what's coming to Esau Edom, a hard reset. You know, hey, let me get this. Since we were speaking about it in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 9, it says, "For inquisition shall be made into the counsels of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come into the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds." All right? Inquisition is being made upon the counsels of the ungodly. And as inquisition is being made, those questions, are now starting to be answered through the Spirit. All right? That gray area that was looming over the earth is now being filled with light. We no longer have a gray area concerning the understanding of who we are, who the Lord is, who our enemies are, prophecy, the Bible in itself. We no longer have a gray area concerning these matters, which is a great hindrance to this kingdom, man. It's a great hindrance beyond really what you can explain.
And also, there would not be black culture without white America. Black culture, or what people enslaved. And also, there would not be black culture without white America. Black culture,
really
or what people consider
nation.
black culture, started after they came
black
here.
culture
When people
stems from white culture, which black culture is a culture that a lot of these Edomites, which it is, deem as destructive and degenerate. So if that destructive and degenerate culture stemmed from white culture, what does that say about so-called white culture? That in turn is more destructive and more degenerate. And we bring out the facts all the time. The reason why Jake sells drugs in the corner, is because the so-called white man sells drugs and peddles drugs throughout the whole world. Hell, you even have a 24/7 drugstore in CVS, which is selling you drugs that get you hooked on other drugs, which gets you hooked for life in the form of so-called medicine. The violence that you see in the communities of these Israelites is being done on a far larger scale when it comes to these Edomites. Edomites have skirmishes between Edomites have created world wars that have killed millions. World wars. So these little skirmishes that you see between blocks really don't surmount to the destruction that the so-called white man has done worldwide. And many more so-called destructive and degenerate, aspects of so-called black culture, are really an offshoot of the even more destructive nature of the so-called white man's culture, which is nothing but thievery, robbery, rape, and murder. That's their culture. They bring nothing to the planet other than destruction. That was their sole purpose, to be the wicked. And now that purpose is running out. It's running out. The wickedness is running out of purpose in the earth. The so-called white man has been deemed to be insignificant by the Heavenly Father, and now he's starting to make his move.
talk about black culture, they don't talk about all of the shit you see on National Geographic. These people don't go to Africa. Talk about black culture, they don't talk about all of the shit you see on National Geographic. These people don't go to Africa. They talk about the culture that you see now, which is a direct result of white people. The language that they speak, mostly, the technology that they use, the places that they live, the instruments that they use in their music, literally everything is the result of white people.
But that's another topic for another lesson, man. I believe the point has been made. Lord wants us to edify unto you elect. The pride of this devil has reached heights that is truly comical, man. And the Lord is starting to expose this devil. Hey, let me get this last one. Because right now we're living in a season where the Lord is starting to set up one who will be profitable over the earth, and Yahushua and 144,000. All right, we're living in that time where the so-called white man's lies, deceit, rape, robbery, and murder are being dismantled, and the truth is being established in the earth. That's the time that we're living in, and that's why the ministry is increasing at the rate it's increasing, because we're living in a time where the Lord is flipping things right side up again, and there's no more space for the so-called white man and his lies and his ideas in the planet. The Lord's going to let him get this last idea off in the form of an RFID microchip. He's going to let him get that last idea off, but he won't be able to accomplish it in its fullness. And that's the trick bag that the Lord has the so-called white man in. All around. This is Ecclesiastes or Sirach chapter 10 and verse 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. All right, and we're coming upon that due time. All right, right now the Lord is building and forging the pillars of the world to come. All right, and then once those pillars are fully fortified, the Lord is going to make his return, and the Lord is going to sit atop of all of these nations, especially the so-called white man, especially the so-called white man. The Lord is going to sit atop and reign with justice, judgment, and equity, man, which is what the world needs. It needs it. You know, we see that more and more every day. The world needs equity. It needs judgment. It needs justice. We need a hero. You know, we need Yahushua. And he's coming. He's showing himself. He's presenting himself in the form of prophecy right now. But eventually the Lord is going to manifest in his glory to take down these nations, man, and to bring down the pride of these devils. With that being said, shalom.